Could the scandal involving the British tabloid News of the World have legal ramifications here in the United States? Some legal experts say yes. Former federal prosecutor Dan Guthrie is now a white-collar defense attorney based in Dallas. He says Rupert Murdoch may have had good reason to shut down News of the World. Mr. Guthrie joins us live. Sir, welcome to Bottom Line. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
Mr. Guthrie, tell our audience what the U.S. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act of 1977 is and why it may have jurisdictional relevance in the scandal involving News of the World.
Well, the jurisdictional hook, first of all, is because of the fact that News Corp is listed on an American stock exchange. The act basically says that if money is paid to a foreign official, and that money is paid with the intent to corrupt that foreign official to gain information that would not otherwise be publicly known, something in violation of their duties, in order to retain or gain business, then that's a violation of law. So the fact that News Corp is here in the United States on the stock exchange gives the Justice Department the potential to investigate this, the bribes to the police officers to gain the information about victims and the inside information that was not available to the other members of the media in England.
And again, we should mention, just for purposes of disclosure, that News Corp is a direct media competitor of Bloomberg Television. Mr. Guthrie, does shunning News of the World mean that U.S. prosecutors are going to back off any investigation of the paper? And will prosecutors also want to look at other papers that Mr. Murdoch owns?
Well, I think that prosecutors, if they do begin an investigation, always look at an enterprise that has had these kind of problems, and they look at the corporate culture of that enterprise. And they try to determine, is that kind of culture limited to this one unit? Sometimes they will look at the unit and conclude that, yes, it was limited to this one unit. Sometimes they will see a pattern that they will believe emanates from someone higher up in the organization. If they see that sort of pattern, then they want to run that thread to try to determine who in the organization was authorizing this kind of behavior. In this type of case, it would be very understandable and likely that the damage could spread to other papers and perhaps to other entities that Mr. Murdoch owns.
How vigorous has the Justice Department been in enforcing this act?
Well, they've been very, very vigorous. They've done undercover investigations. They've taken a very broad view of what a foreign official is. For example, they've determined that an employee of a government subsidized entity is actually a foreign official for purposes of the act. So they've been very aggressive in their prosecutions, and I think they've indicated they're going to continue to be aggressive.
Mr. Guthrie, you did mention that News Corp, of course, is a listed company. Does that mean we can also expect the Securities and Exchange Commission to look into this?
Well, Mark, I think it's very likely. I think that the SEC would look at this in terms of the financial reports that have been filed on behalf of the corporation. Those reports are something that they will scrutinize very carefully to see how the payments that were made to the various officials in England have been accounted for. And if they have not been accounted for properly, or if there's been an effort to try to disguise the payments in some way, then that could be an issue for the company.
Mr. Guthrie, how often are events that take place outside of the United States brought to U.S. courts?
Well, as the economy becomes more and more global and more interdependent, and you have more companies operating in different countries, then you see more and more efforts by the United States to go outside of its borders in what we call extraterritorial jurisdiction. Because the events can happen in England, but yet they can be investigated here in the United States because we've essentially extended the jurisdiction of the American courts beyond our borders.
You have defended clients who have been accused of violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act of 1977. Does this basically boil down to allegations of simple bribery?
Well, it does. Essentially, that's exactly what it is, except that it has to be bribery of an official so that they have done something that they weren't supposed to do. They violated their official duty. So in this case, the allegations that the United States government, the Justice Department may be looking at would be strictly the bribery of the police officials. The officials would be considered to be officials under the law. And the other allegations about the hacking, the computer intrusions and things of that nature, that would not be something that would really be within the jurisdiction of the Justice Department here in this country.
Mr. Guthrie, in our last minute, how broad is this act? How much scope, how much leeway do U.S. officials really have?
Well, they have a lot of leeway, and it has been very vigorously and broadly interpreted by the Justice Department. They push the limits. As I said earlier, the definition of a foreign official has been broadly pushed by the Justice Department. Having said that, there are a lot of the sections of the law that have not really been thoroughly tested. You know, it's kind of like the RICO law from several years ago. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of press about it when it passed about being against organized crime. But in reality, the Justice Department used RICO in many, many situations that had nothing to do with organized crime. So it is possible in this situation that they could broadly interpret the act, and they could, in fact, investigate Murdoch's companies here in the United States.
Dan Guthrie is a former federal prosecutor, now a white-collar defense attorney based in Dallas. Mr. Guthrie, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.